Okay, welcome. So we are sort of like crossing between two Sfarim. One is Ohel Rachel, which is the Sefer. It is the written down oral transmission that used to take place from mothers to daughters for thousands of years. I mean, we're talking about, but we are right now pretty much a generation of spiritual orphans where the mothers no longer have the transmission to give over to the daughters. So what was done is 35 years ago, maybe plus or minus, this book, this Sefer, was written. It's called Ohel Rachel. It was written in Hebrew. And it's actually, what is so special is because we couldn't afford to lose this transmission, this oral Torah. It was written down so that we would not be without the oral Torah, because as we know, the oral Torah is based on the written Torah, but the written Torah is not enough. Hashem gave us the oral Torah, which was really, as I said, it was an oral transmission, mother to daughters. It was about the Jewish woman, her strengths, her responsibilities, and really the focus of the learning is a woman understanding where her relationship to Hashem impacts her home, her family. So it's really about how a woman builds herself up through her relationship with Hashem. So we are now talking, the main word here is relationship, which is it's a big buzzword in our generation. Here we're talking about connecting. We're talking about a relationship that creates stability, a relationship that has permanence to it, a relationship that it has with it obligations and privileges. On one side, we have tremendous privileges that come with this type of relationship. And this type of relationship that we're talking about with Hashem and with the members of our family is all the laboratory within which that relationship is developed is the Jewish home and the woman in her home. So what is this relationship all about? So it starts with understanding that there is an exclusivity about Am Yisrael. Hashem, through giving us the Torah, has indicated that with Am Yisrael, with the nation of Jews, Hashem is going to have what we would call an intimate relationship with his people. Now, what does an intimate relationship mean? It really goes further. It means that in some way, out of our way beyond our own imagination, the creator and the creation become one. Now that sounds way out of line, it sounds way out of there. This is such a out of range concept that actually I don't know of any other religion that even, there's a lot of things that are imitated in other religions, but I don't know of anything like this. If there's any type, it's a complete unification with the Creator through the relationship that Torah gives us. It gives us minute-to-minute inspiration towards a mitzvah. There's a mitzvah every moment. I call it the mitzvah of the moment. The mitzvah of any moment is to be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu in our thoughts, and it's not so difficult for a woman. A woman's thoughts are really like prayers. She has like an automatic, her thoughts are an automatic connection to Hashem. Now, of course, we can have thoughts that don't connect us to Hashem, thoughts that create distance, anger, fear, frustration, disappointment, so those are feelings that impact our thoughts, but they are they're meant to be catalysts, not to keep us away from Hashem, but to turn to Hashem, to learn how to deal with these emotions. In other words, Hashem is not sending us situations that are painful, that are difficult for us, that cause us in the normal sphere of being a human being, cause us disappointment, frustration, and upset, and sadness. But the goal of all those feelings is for us to develop a plan and a strategy to utilize and implement our relationship with Hashem to deal with all of these emotional and intellectual challenges. Many times there's a lot of intellectual challenges. Here in Israel, we live with a lot of contradicting realities, completely contradicting realities. On one hand, we are deep in a war that is, it touches the core of the world's feelings towards Jews, which is basically the world's rebellion against God. And in a God, LESS world, anything goes. We, through our relationship with Hashem and accepting Torah, have brought morality, self-restraint, boundaries, healthy boundaries into the world. Things from incest, not allowing for incest, not allowing for infidelity, and going on to many, many levels of morality, which require self-restraint. Now, the outside world, as we know, is not interested in self-restraint. And that is a perfect example of a God, LESS world. And we represent the other side. Jews, no matter how integrated and how assimilated they are, they touch on a universal sensitivity. I don't want to be told what to do. I want to be free and do it as I please. And so what we're living with in these two contradictions is, on one hand, a world that absolutely needs Am Yisrael, because Hashem sends his blessings into the world through his relationship with Am Yisrael. We are the source of blessings to all the world. And on the other hand, we have to contend with a world that's saying, your divinity does not love you anymore, doesn't care about you. You have been abandoned. Look, we all hate you. The understanding is, now this is just one type of contradiction that we have to live with, but there are many living here in Israel, the war, and yet on the other hand, there is a sense of urgency and trauma and normality at the same time here. Now, what's the normality? The normality is implementing Hashem's structure into our life. So that we still have smachot, We still have joyous occasions, and we still have gratitude for every moment that we are able to be in a relationship with Hashem, do mitzvahs, do chesed, and live in the shadow of Hashem's protection. So the idea is still, and the ideal here is bringing Hashem into our life. And the Jewish home is the laboratory for bringing Hashem into our life. And the Jewish woman, I start out with 3 outstanding strengths that a Jewish woman has to accomplish this huge goal, bringing Hashem into our home, into our lives. So the 3 strengths that a woman has, and they are so empowering, is 1, we have the koach of chibur. We have a natural desire to connect. Now, where that stems from, I mean, in other words, we are wired from the beginning towards connecting, towards relationship. Now, where that comes from is because the woman, there are 2 creation stories, but in one of the creation stories, Hashem put Adam Harishon to sleep, and he took apart the rib from Adam, and from that rib, he created Chava. So Chava is created in relationship to Adam. She is a part and of a whole. So a woman feels a yearning towards the WHOLE, the whole, which would be her husband. And the man, so she feels something is, she's created in such a way that she is in relationship to and feels the chaser. She feels the incompleteness. She has like a tremendous pull and yearning towards completion. And she feels that very strongly. And of course, it includes her desire to have, to her pull to have children. But let's take it at first, just having a relationship, because not every woman has children. But every woman is very, very programmed, wired spiritually towards relationship. And this koach chibur, this relationship that she requires, it obligates her. It obligates her to model and to develop herself in a way that she is a model for herself and for everybody around her as to how to have relationship. Now, the source of a relationship is the idea that I'm incomplete. That's what we started out with. And therefore, I need you. I need the other. Now, the ultimate other, the ultimate is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And a woman has, this is already the koach of emunah. A woman has, if it's not been tampered with or completely shut down, a woman does have a natural ability to recognize that everything she receives in life has a source. The source is the giver, and the giver, capital T-H-E, capital G-I-V-E-R, is Hashem. And so if we feel incomplete, and we're going to look to Hashem to help us and to fill us in such a way that we are no longer what we need, Hashem is going to provide us. That's her connection to Hashem. That is the koach of Emunah. And as we can draw Hashem's involvement in my life from the place of I'm incomplete, the source of anything I need is Hashem. And by turning my requests and thoughts and awareness that Hashem is the source, I am bringing an awareness of Hashem into my life, into my home, into the world. So this is called Koach HaEmunah. It's another way of seeing it is a woman who does go through childbirth has a natural understanding of what it means to have an umbilical cord relationship between herself and her creator, because it's the same relationship as an embryo has towards its mother. If you don't have this umbilical cord connection, then the embryo cannot develop. If we as women don't have that emunah, that umbilical cord connection, that we are incomplete, that's how Hashem created us, every human being. And as women, we have a special power to introduce our awareness that for every incompleteness, the fulfillment or the completion comes through my relationship with Hashem. And if I don't turn to Hashem and I cut off that connection, then I cannot grow. And neither can my marriage, and in this way, and neither can my family in this way. And this is, in other words, I have a contribution to make. My personal umbilical cord connection, my emunah, that Hashem is involved in every aspect of whatever is missing in my life, as well as in whatever I already have in life. It's all Hashem. That piece is what generates emunah in the world. Emunah starts with the woman. It goes out, and in turn, we see Hashem's involvement in what we're missing. For instance, a farmer goes and plants seeds. Now he knows that he can't make those seeds grow. He knows what is missing: rain, sunshine, the winds. There's a lot of things that are missing. But a farmer will plant the seeds based on this is the application, on his trusting and relationship with Hashem. Otherwise, the seeds are not going to grow. If Hashem does not send down, and nobody's going to plant seeds in the desert, because the land itself has no capacity to nurture the seed and therefore draw down the rain. Okay, so we have the koach of connecting that comes from the fact that a woman was created through an attachment, an original attachment to Adam. The koach of emunah, which is an awareness that I'm incomplete, so that whatever I already have is from Hashem, And whatever I still need is also based on my 100% dependence on Hashem. The third koach a woman has is the koach of Kabbalah, the power to receive, to be a good receiver. Now we see this in basically in the physiology of a woman. A woman is built to receive from her husband in such a way that in the traditional way of conceiving, this would be the case. And this is not an accident. It's to remind us, our Hashem created us in such a way that on every level, emotional, spiritual, physical level, we are supposed to be our role in bringing Hashem into this world is by being good receivers. And this is again tied into what we said before, because if I'm a good receiver, what is a good receiver? A good receiver acknowledges and knows how to connect to the giver. Now, if I'm not a good receiver, what does it mean to be not a good receiver? It means to be a taker. A good receiver makes the giver able to and desire to give more. A taker does not acknowledge the giver, and thereby the flow of giving is impeded. The example we can think of is, again, related to conception and developing a fetus, and then the fetus is born, and then you have the baby is nursing from the mother. The nursing baby is there by causing the mother to produce more milk as the baby feeds. So the baby.
Whoops, you got muted all of a sudden. Oh. Oh.
Okay, sorry. All right. So a baby is not a depleter. A baby who nurses is a replenisher. And that's the model. A taker does not depletes the giver. I have more and you have less. It's not, it doesn't create renewal and the cycle. A receiver activates the system, a spiritual system, where the giver is now able, desirous, capable, however you want to put it, of giving more. This is another area of a woman's strength. We bring into this world, we introduce into the world this koach of receiving, reminding ourselves our physical physiology of a woman, reminding ourselves that connecting our circumstances and the people in our life and the situations to Hashem as the source makes me into a good receiver, and in turn I get Hashem's direct involvement in helping out, giving me more resources to deal with everything and anything that I'm dealing with. And we need that. We need Hashem's involvement to be able to navigate through the relationships that are being presented to us. Okay? Now, the question is, hold on, just see how we're doing here. Now the question is, how do we, how do we see, in what context, Hashem gave us all these strengths, the strength of connecting, the strength of Emunah, which is another level of connecting. It's connecting to the unseen, right? When we're connecting with people in front of us, that's one thing. But connecting with Hashem is on another level. And receiving, both from receiving and being good receivers, recognizing that everything is coming from Hashem, the good and the better, the circumstances in my life, all of it is coming from Hashem. That's cause of receiving. Now, what is this meant? What's like the overall, the overarching, let's see, the overarching ideal that we're working towards? All right, the ideal is, because we can very easily not get to it, the ideal is to recognize that we have, between us and Hashem and us and our fellow Jew, we have a complete attachment. And relationships are based on awareness that we are attached to each other. It's not just connected, we're part of each other. That's step one, is recognizing. Now, that's an incredible leap to recognize that the Creator and the creation are attached. Well, we are. The method and the way we're attached is through the relationship that is guided to us by Hashem directly. Hashem is giving us the Torah, and He is giving us the Torah ways to have this intimate, seamless relationship with Hashem, and through our relationships with the people and the circumstances Hashem sends into our lives. It's all part of belonging together. Am Yisrael belongs together. There's no other nation that could pull together the way we have with Hashem's incredible power of unity in this crisis that we're in, the war. And this belonging together, is a privilege. We belong to each other. It's a privilege, and it's a responsibility. On the privilege side, and both the privilege and the responsibility sort of are together, is that we're going to help each other go from being incomplete, because that's how Hashem created us all. So we would yearn for a relationship, like the woman who yearns, created that we all yearn for a relationship, and through relationship reach fulfillment. The Hebrew word fulfillment is shleimut. So belonging together means that if we're apart, I remain incomplete and the other person remains incomplete. If we're supposed to be together, if we're supposed to belong, if we're supposed to see it as belonging to each other, then that relationship, through bringing Hashem into that relationship, I'm going to ask Hashem's help, because this is not natural, this is supernatural. That connection is going to bring about shleimut. Fulfillment is the purpose of life, because In order to be fulfilled, we have to bring Hashem in. How so? Simply by asking for Hashem's help. Somebody steps on my toe. It's not just somebody, it's my husband. Somehow or other, I have to, and this is, I'm not talking about physically stepping on my toe. I'm saying somebody annoys, says something, does whatever it is, the fulfillment of the mitzvah of the moment is to be able to reach connection, just even though our emotions and our intellect say, I'm not interested. It's very hard for me to withstand the discomfort of my feelings right now towards this person. Now, if we cannot overcome the feelings of being so overwrought emotionally and maybe intellectually and logically, then we have to know that the goal is fulfillment, shleimus, completion. The goal is to have the relationship, but it can't be fulfilled right now. The time is not right. So how are we going to reach the fulfillment? We have to first create space. Space means space and time, and sometimes even physical space. And the key to creating space at a time when we cannot reach fulfillment.
I had the picture before. What happened?
Hold on. I'm going to mute everybody. Hold on. That's it. Okay. Yeah. So, what was I just saying? The full stuff. Yes, space, time and physical space. However, it can't be unlimited. It has to be us being enough in touch with our feelings and our thoughts that are not allowing us to make the connection at this moment. It's not a possibility. So we create space. I need some time, but I'll be back. Give me a half an hour. I'll be back soon, hopefully within a half an hour. In other words, when I go away and create space, I do not want to create a sense of abandonment or rejection. That's not the purpose of creating space. The purpose of creating space is communicating with Hashem, thinking things over so that I can come back. That's the purpose of creating space. We don't, as I said, rejection and abandonment is not what we're interested in here. That's Hashem doesn't reject us and He doesn't abandon us, and we don't do this. We don't do the same. We might feel like doing that, right? Because we're human beings, but we're going to call on our relationship with Hashem. Help me stay connected. Help me, send me the messages and the messengers, Hashem, so that I can stay connected. Now we have the power of receiving, the power of Emunah, and the power of connecting. And we're saying that we need to access all these three feminine strengths in order to demonstrate to ourselves, to our husbands, to our children, to Am Yisrael, to Hashem, to the whole world, that we are attached. We are connected to Hashem, and through that to all of Am Yisrael. connected to Hashem in order to connect to her. And that can, again, the source of my yearning for connection is a woman's awareness that I'm incomplete. Hashem, not just I, every human being is incomplete. But somebody's got to start the cycle, the system. And a woman does it. She doesn't even realize it, because women generally are more interested in getting married than men. The men come along, they're ready because they understand there is fulfillment for them, and they do sense that there is that. But a woman is more than, because a woman was created, as I said, in relationship. A man was created from the depths of the earth and the first raindrop as a complete, solitary, independent unit. So it's not that he yearns like a woman for connection. It's that he gets drawn into it. A woman creates a magnetic field and draws in her husband in, and he feels in that magnetic field the completion. He feels his wife's attachment to him, little h, big H. He feels the blessings of the Shekhinah. And so he feels the blessings through the relationship, through the connection. But it's not generally men who are going to be at the outset, because men are out in the outside world. Their primary location, their primary function is in the public, is generally in the public. They go to work. That's not the case today. Women certainly are out there. But if a woman is out in the outside world and loses her contact with her inner powers that make the whole world run, in other words, these three strengths, powerful strengths that a woman brings into action, is the primary pulse that makes everything else move. And if you want to see examples of that, then you'll understand why Hashem spoke to Moshe and said, give the Torah first to the women. The female strength of a woman is what makes a man able to receive Torah. When he interacts and he experiences koach of emunah, the strength of emunah, koach hachibor, the strength of feeling I'm incomplete and I'm yearning for connection, and koach HaKabbalah, the koach, the power of making a giver into a more into regenerating a giver by being a good receiver. These are female strengths, and turning to the women first to implement to hear the Torah is to understand that these strengths are what a man needs to interface with in order for him to receive the Torah. A man is resistant to authority. A woman is not in that same way. So for a man to be able to accept authority, he experiences the woman's connection to Hashem and the blessings that come with it and the fulfillment that comes with it, and this motivates him to serve Hashem. Because for a man to find Hashem, it's not
as in the intuitive level that a woman has. A man has to go into the base medrash, he's got to learn, he's got to struggle, and he also has to have a woman who's connected in the ways that we just have described. Okay, and this is all part of a system of what? Of belonging, being attached to each other. This attachment is a privilege because it's part of being attached to Hashem and creating relationship with Hashem and everybody else in our lives. And it's rooted in a woman's awareness of I'm incomplete. Now, a man should come into the chuppah has to also understand that he's incomplete. He has to already by that point get it, that he's incomplete, even though he's going to be a giver in the relationship, but he's incomplete because who's giving the man what to give? He has to interface on a certain level with this type of emunah, this type of, that a woman, and he has to recognize that the recharge button for his connection to Hashem comes from his relationship, how he relates and how his wife relates to him. So we belong together. This is what you call, in the Torah perspective, love. Love is a constant. It comes with, as I said before, entitlement and obligations. My yearning for fulfillment, shleimus in life, is going to be satisfied through a love relationship on this level. This love is an ideal, I-D-E-A-L. It is not an idea. It's not fluff. It is the Torah ideal, and to reach a Torah ideal, we must have a relationship with Hashem. We have to ask Hashem for his direct help and for Hashem to send us messages and messengers to help us through the circumstances and the relationships in our life. First and foremost with our husband, and then we can go on further. So this is what a Jewish home and a Jewish marriage is based on. A couple goes to the chuppah, and the yearning of the couple is that both are going to be able to find completion through the humility that is required to recognize that each of us is incomplete. We're going to reach fulfillment because we're going to connect to each other. Each individual is incomplete, and the way I could say it, maybe the one word is that there's 100% dependence on Hashem and 100% interdependence on each other in the marriage relationship. We're interdependent. Each has their own components, their own aspects of fulfilling the picture so we can reach shleimus, fulfillment, completion. The wife has things that are missing in the husband has things that are missing in the wife. The actual relationship is going to be structured within a Torah framework. Our emotions and our intellect are going to be dealt with through our relationship with Hashem. All right, let's talk about how this sounds like in real life. Let's take a real life example. For those of you who've been with me, this is probably boring already to hear me give the same example, but I think it's a good one, so it sort of hits on a nerve for every woman. So the wife's been home with 2 sick kids, And the husband comes in from the outside world and he says, wow, the house is a mess. What have you been doing all day? All right? So, to put on the punching gloves or to crumble because we feel so belittled, so devalued, is not what it's about. It's about bringing some sort of a fulfillment. There's something that's going to develop through this. There's going to be a growth. There's something that's going to happen, that needs to happen here. The most important thing that needs to happen is connection. It has to, no matter, and how am I going to stay connected when I don't feel like being connected? I feel like I've been devalued. I feel like I've been judged. I feel like I've been criticized. The only way I can get to another level is to recognize this is a test. This is not a missile. This is a mission. This is a test from above. And we know the tester. Life is a test. As my Rebbetzin Olszewski used to say when she was teaching us these type of shiurim, she said, I don't have to give you any tests. Life is the test. Okay? This is a test. Now, what am I being tested? The test is, can I accomplish a connection with Hashem that will enable me to connect with my husband in this context? Can I? And since this can happen on different levels, and I'm just using this as an example, but I don't think it's hard to imagine examples where a husband will be tactless, maybe you could say, and make a wife feel criticized, diminished, devalued. But what does it mean? What's really happening here? So, when somebody says something that makes us feel very uncomfortable, we have the opportunity here to think and ask Hashem, it's a test, help me get to a valuable message that's being transmitted here. There is some sort of a message that the husband is trying to transmit, and it has value. At the minimum, it has value. It's a very valuable message to him. It has value to me because it's putting me into a test. How do I deal with messages that I don't like, let's say, or I don't agree with? Never mind how the message was transmitted, the tone, the words, never mind that. I'm just talking about the message itself. The message might not be something that I agree with, but it is important to the other person. Hashem, help me hear and find and look for and search for the message that's important to the person who's speaking to me. So a message that one could come to is a husband's coming in from what I call the jungle. Outside world is a jungle. It is a place where everybody, it's a dog world, competition. It is not pleasant in many cases. And he needs a certain level of serenity when he comes home. Now, what that level of serenity, what's going to make him feel serene. It could be a lot of things, including a smiling wife who greets him at the door. She hears the door going, the lock opening up, but it could go back, but it might be that end. I mean, that would be a very good beginning to drawing the husband in, reminding ourselves that he's been out on a soloing. He's on a solo when he goes out. Now he has to connect, and he has to feel that magnetic field that's drawing him in. And the way the house is looking is not drawing him in the way he needs, the way his neshama needs. So, if we can stop and remind ourselves the mission is to stay connected. How? Help me, Hashem, to hear his message. You can start out by saying, I know it sounds like it's important to you that the house look a certain way. Okay? And then, to build the connection, we can say, I want to reassure you. It's important to me as well. Or you could say, I want to reassure that I wish the house were looking the way you needed to, you were hoping it would. Okay, so it's not, crumbling. Saying I wish it looked that way is accepting the fact that it doesn't look that way. Saying it's important to you when you come home that to have a little corner of serenity is making another person feel important. Between being able to say, I know it's important, I can hear it's important to you, and I want to reassure you it's important to me. Now, you can see that the whole scene has been changed. It's a new reality because I'm connecting. It's the reality of connecting. To disconnect, you don't have to come to a shiur like this. We're now creating these steps towards connection, and Hashem is part of every step. Now, the next thing I'd like to suggest and remind people is that I learned from Rebbetzin Steinberg is that the liquid swallowing reflex is a relaxing reflex. So I always suggest to the women, know your husband's favorite drink. And then you make a suggestion. Come, let's sit down and have a cup of tea. You've changed the whole channel. Doesn't mean that you're not going to yet address the way he spoke to us, but we're going to address it in a way that we have his both ears. There's no use putting on the punching gloves and telling him, that's the door. Now you get out, and when you know how to walk in here and talk to me, you can come in. There's no connection. The test is when we're being challenged to connect. That's a test. When somebody comes home and brings you flowers, that's not a challenge to connect in the same way. That might be a challenge to be grateful because he brought you, I don't know, yellow daisies and you like red roses. I don't know, whatever. But the fact is that we keep our eye on the target, connecting. We don't feel like being connected? Ask Hashem. We still can't connect? We might have to say, excuse me, I need a few minutes to myself. I'll be back in a few minutes. All right? That's creating space because you know you cannot connect at that moment. But if you can, it's very good. And if you know that the next goal is to sit down and have a cup of tea or coffee or whatever you drink, and then you can say, you wouldn't know. You have to say, what is the one most important? You have to ask and draw him out. Tell me more, not how can you talk to me about how the house looks? I was home with 2 sick kids. Tell me more. Tell me one thing, one thing that's really important to you when you come home, so you feel serene, you feel welcomed, you feel comforted, whatever. And a smiling wife, you can suggest a smiling wife, supper, the things you know. The table is set already for supper. You have to draw him out. That's a woman's job. Don't, not to be stingy with we're not investigating. We're just drawing him out. It's a very different, it's a connecting experience. And once you hear the one most important thing, you can say, I want to reassure you, I will do my best to make sure that is there, available. I have a request, 2 requests. One is so that I can make sure, could you send me a WhatsApp or phone call to give me a heads up you're coming home. And 2, should something like this come up again, it would mean so much to me if you could say it in a kind and loving way. That's it. You're not talking about the tone he used, the words he used, the posture, nothing. Just make a request. You don't have to give him the lines if you want, because that's already, what happens is this is making the giver into a better giver. Our husbands gave us a little test. Hashem sent us the test, but it was delivered through our husbands. We want our husbands to be better givers. That depends on how we received. If we received in a way that connects us to Hashem, connects our husbands to Hashem as well by not even talking about Hashem, just feeling Hashem's gifts of connection. Okay, anyway, everybody's going to say one thing you heard today that stands out in your mind. Okay, my dear Chana.
Okay, so a man is resistant to authority, and to accept authority, he needs to experience his wife's intuitive connection to Hashem.
Yes. A man resists authority. In order for him to accept authority, he needs to experience his wife's intuitive connection to Hashem. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to welcome Susan here. He came a little later, but Susan, do you want to say something you heard today? And she can't unmute herself. Okay, Deb, if you can unmute, yeah.
Let's see. I think that it was when you said that it's not a test when if your husband brings you flowers but it is that the test comes when, I'm just trying to see where I wrote that, when there's disconnection and when there's something that is difficult.
Yes.
It comes through the difficulty, and to see whether or not we can create the connection in the moment.
Right. And if it's not at that moment, sometimes you just have to create a little space and come back. The goal is connection. The goal is attachment. The goal is making our husbands feel our attachment to little h, him, big H, him. Yes. Okay. Susan, do you know how to unmute yourself? I don't know if she can.
Can you unmute her?
I'm not sure. Let's see if I can. Hold on. Hold on. Let's see here. I can ask all to unmute, but I can't unmute everybody.
Okay.
I cannot. All right. So it is.
Okay.
Okay. I hope everybody heard, as you mentioned, it sounds like you heard something good. I tell you, I've been teaching this for 30 years, and
There she is. There she is.
oh yeah, Susan.
Hi, hi. We had a change in plans, so we had to jump in the car and drive. So while I was driving, I connected with you.
Good.
We're at the school where we have to celebrate the birthday at the school and at home. So I wasn't prepared for that this morning. Anyway, so I like the idea of walking out, but in a friendly way, and saying, I'll be back. I'm going to take a few minutes, but I'll be back. It's a very unique concept, and I think it's really awesome.
Yes. Yes, in a friendly way, which means so that the other person recognizes our attachment and our commitment to the connection. Right? Good.
Right.
Thank
Yeah.
you. All right. So today's class was recorded. If anybody's interested and wants to review it. And I thank Susan for joining. I hope you'll be able to do so more often. And thank you, Deb.
Yes.
Thank you.
And thank
How,
you.
how do we access the recording?
I'll tell you what I'll do. I will post it on the Simcha of Marriage. Everybody's on the Simcha of Marriage WhatsApp group?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll post it now. When I get it, I'll post it as on that group so that everybody can get it as a special Adar gift. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very much.
you.
Bye.